We have another message today from the bishop, mystic, theologian, Meister Eckhart. And the message is, we are the cause of all our obstacles. Guard yourself against yourself, and you have good protection. Guard yourself against yourself. Yourself is potentially, and I would go further to say, most definitely, your biggest obstacle. The person you need to guard yourself against the most is yourself. He ends this too with saying, you will have good protection if you guard yourself against yourself. So yourself is your worst enemy and your greatest protector. It's the person, the thing that's hoping for you to fail and to succeed. And you need to guard against this self. You need to guard against the self that talks you down and beats you up and goes after vices and cheap temptation and instant gratification. And there's many words and many ideas about this, but the one I like the most is the lower self. This is the lower self. You must guard against the lower self. And you don't want to guard against the lower self with your lower self. That makes no sense. You want to guard against the lower self with your higher self. The higher self that is patient, is kind, who is virtuous. He who goes to the higher self can defeat the lower self. But if it's lower self versus lower self, it's almost like fighting fire with fire. You're just adding fuel to the lower self. And in that process, your higher self is being destroyed. And throughout this book, the selected writings of Meister Eckhart, he talks about how God is virtue. And God, I don't know if you could hear that, but it's a big motorcycle. But yeah, God is virtue. God in himself is virtue. God is love. God is patience. God is these things. And these things are in your soul. And these things are your higher self. But you're also a human and you have a flesh. And your lower self loves the flesh. Your lower self loves pleasure and loves to give in to temptation and loves to feed the desires of the flesh. But your higher self knows this is cheap temptation and knows this not to be worthy of your time and knows this life to be fleeting. So your higher self is demanding moral excellence and virtue from you because it knows what's to come. It knows the reward that you will get in heaven if you can stick to your higher self, if you can feed your higher self and starve your lower self. Meister Eckhart has amazing lines throughout this book, and he is a very profound talker because these are all, actually, I don't know if these are talks. No, yeah, they're writings, but he's a very profound writer. And he has he does sermons. The sermons he did were written down. And when one of the sermons he did, he says, God is on sale and it's a bargain. Isn't that a beautiful text? Because God is on sale, is saying what you need to give up to have God is a bargain. Giving up your life for God is a bargain. And I think it's just such a beautiful way to put that, to articulate that God is on sale and it's a bargain. Because giving up everything in this life for the next life is truly a bargain. Giving up 100 years for eternity, or giving up 20 years for eternity, however long this earthly life is you have last, is truly a bargain. So you must guard against yourself, with yourself. But don't use your lower self to fight your lower self. Use your higher self to fight your lower self. So you will actually have good protection. There's no reason trying to talk your lower self down with your lower self, because you're just going to feed the fire, and nothing virtuous, good, righteous, just will come out of trying to hold off your lower self with your lower self. You must call upon your higher self in these times.